Hey guys, Jeremy here from School of What, Covent Garden. It is Saturday Specials once again. This series is all about the build-up and the excitement of Christmas, and we've gone all out Christmas. For the next few weeks, we've got some alternative Christmas recipes if you're like me and my family and you just don't like turkey. Crispy pork belly, Chinese style, worked really well with Christmas flavors because of the 5 spice, but it's really very simple. And the first thing we've got to do is actually blanch your pork belly. I've only got a small piece here, but no matter how big your pork belly, it will work the same way, just follow the recipe. Now the reason why we blanch the pork belly is that it just sort of tightens the whole bit of meat up, makes it easier to slice into and score the skin, and it brings out the fatty impurities of the meat. So, you know, you get that sort of scum that comes up on the top of the water. It's trying to get out those fatty impurities. Once that has been blanched, it should crisp up much better. And you can see, as soon as you take that out, how much more sort of plump that pork belly looks. Now, I'm going to score the edge of this, but I'm just going to cool it down under the tap, just so I can actually touch it. So just pat that dry. You can see how much more sort of squeaky clean that is. I'm just going to score this. Now when you're scoring, and like how you get it in the butcher, you want to score really sort of fine slices through. You don't want to hit the meat, you just want to open up the skin. So about 1 to 2 millimeters between each score. And that's for me to get the salt into, make sure that all of the skin gets really nice and crispy. So then just turn that around and do the same the other way. So you've got a nice diagonal or crisscross of scores across the skin. Now what you can see here is if I just sort of press into that the skin actually really is opened up. That's very important. If you haven't actually scored and sliced into that top bit of skin, the salt won't get in, it will not get crispy. Traditionally, you'd actually have a hammer with loads of needles on the end of it. Sounds a little bit torturous, and you'd be sort of poking the skin as much as possible so that the salt can get in. But you can do it with a knife. If I was keeping this really traditional, where we have this type of recipe on the channel already, it would just be 5 spice and salt. It's Christmas, I'm going to go a little bit more all out. So we're going to use the whole 5 spices in the base here. A little bit of ginger, spring onion and some red onion. I'll make a nice base here, perhaps even a little bit of mandarin or orange just to go with that Christmas theme. Oh, I'm excited. So I've got some ginger, which I'm just going to roughly sort of bash into the base here. This is going to roast for a long time, so you don't really need to chop it. Spring onion, again, chunks will do. And then nice wedges of onion. I'm going to keep the skin on so that it softens, but the actual onion doesn't burn. And then I've got a couple of little clementines here. Just going to halve those, and that'll give a bit more moisture to the actual meat. Oh, that is looking Christmassy already. The actual dry whole spices here. We've got star anise, the main basis of 5 spice, cinnamon, a little bit of fennel, and some clove. And so there's 4 out of the 5 spices. The 5th spice in 5 spice is quite often a mixture or combination of a few things, whether it's black pepper, ginger powder, garlic powder, Sichuan peppercorns, or even mandarin peel. With the salt and 5 spice, the first thing is your actual 5 spice, you don't want to get on the skin. You just want to take about a teaspoon and rub that around the meat. That's the bottom and the sides. It's the only dish that I get it quite generous. The rest, the actual skin, needs a fair bit of salt. at least a teaspoon, if not a little bit more. And you want to rub that salt over the skin, get that into all those cuts from the scoring. And you can see, once you've rubbed it into the skin, it will start to glisten slightly. And that salt is bringing that moisture, that excess moisture out of the skin, drying it some more. Any excess salt, just rub around the edges like so. So the last thing is just sort of mix those dry spices around those onions. You don't need any oil for this or anything like that. Then plonk that on top, whack it in the oven. I start it low and slow at 130 degrees C for at least 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Straight in, let that cook. We'll whack up the heat later on. So my pork belly has had about an hour or so on 130 degrees C, and that is looking brilliant already. Whack it up to 230, last 45 minutes. And a crispy pork, look at that. And that is the test. Give it a proper flick, and if it sounds hollow, you know it's going to be crispy. It's always best when you're cutting it to go upside down. Slice in, it should be nice and succulent from that first slow cook. And then see how crunchy that crackling is. No matter what flavour you're putting on this belly pork, that way of blanching and then roasting, that salting in between, makes all the difference to the crunch. A little taste. It's a big taste, really. So I'm quite hungry. The meat is really succulent. I'm pretty sure you can hear that crunch. Now it's heaven. No matter what happens, even if you're just having any other type of meat, I'd always have a bit of this on the side. If you like this recipe, don't forget guys, subscribe to our channel.